The film then shifts back in time to 1987, when Mateusz was still a boy. He is practicing with a doctor, putting figurines in a box according to the notches. The doctor believes the boy has mental retardation, but his mother strongly disagrees with this diagnosis. She believes that Mateusz understands everything perfectly well, but the doctor hints that even a dog wags its tail when it sees a bowl of food. The doctor suggests placing the boy in a special institution where he will be looked after by specialists, but the woman refuses. At home, she tries to teach her son to walk, despite the fact that her daughter and older son do not believe it is possible. Mateusz moves across the floor on his back, meeting his father who plays with him. The desperate parents hire a massage therapist to help their son. However, after a few sessions, the specialist also acknowledges the futility of his efforts. The boy cannot be helped. He even refuses to take money for his last visit. The mother walks with Mateusz on the street, realizing that all her efforts may be in vain. But the boy wants to tell her something, and she is forced to consider what he is trying to communicate. This barrier to communication upsets her, and in frustration, she takes the stroller home. Along the way, Mateusz explains in a voiceover that he was also upset by the inability to communicate with his family. At home, his father talks to Mateusz, teaching him how to bang his fist on the table like a real man. The voiceover says that from that moment on, he is determined to learn everything he can. The boy crawls on the floor to his mother to pick him up, and the woman ignores her daughter and works with him. In the afternoon, Mateusz sits on the windowsill and watches the neighbors' lives in the windows of the house across the street. This is how he learned to socialize. One day, the family receives a package from an uncle in Germany. Among the usual gifts, there is a mysterious fluffy egg, a coconut. The father opens it with improvised means, and everyone watches. Mateusz learns a lesson about perseverance. He also observes his mother's guests who come to try on new dresses. One day, when Mateusz was watching a program about space rockets, his sister Matilda turned off the TV, which made the boy angry. The mother noticed his nervous movements and turned the program back on, despite the girl's words that her brother did not understand anything. Along the way, Matilda asks where her hairpin is. Mateusz crawls to the couch, making moans. His relatives try to calm him down, but in this way, he wanted to draw attention to the barrette that had rolled under the couch, albeit to no avail. The year 1989 comes. His father is showing Mateusz the night sky through the window, telling him about the stars. Off-screen, the protagonist himself wonders what his father's job is. When the boy grew up, his father made him a new wheelchair out of scrap materials, a sawn-up folding bed and wheels from a trolley. Later, celebrating the first democratic elections in Poland and the liberation from socialism, the father goes to the store, ostensibly to buy a new door lock. However, he returns home late at night and is completely drunk. Climbing up on the balcony, the father knocks on the window, attracting Mateusz's attention. And at that moment, Poles are happily launching fireworks into the sky. While the boy is watching, his father falls from the balcony and dies. In memory of him, the hero is left with instructions that he should never give up. The film moves to 98. Mateusz, who has grown up, still crawls around to admire the stars from his windowsill. And the girl next door, Anka, whose mother was so hospitable that she invited different men to her house every night. Meanwhile, Matilda was looking for a husband, so from time to time she also brought guys to the apartment. They were disturbed by Mateusz, whom they would roll out into another room. However, their moans reached the hero through the closed door. One day, the older brother took Mateusz out for a walk in the yard. He left the wheelchair next to the bench where Anka was sitting. The hero attracts her attention with his movements, and then the girl starts talking to him. They become friends, and sitting on a bench with a book turns into a walk along the street. Anka takes the hero for a ride in a wheelchair made by her father long ago, and they visit the zoo. Near the crooked mirrors, Mateusz notices bruises on the girl's thighs. Later, sitting on the windowsill, he sees his friend defending her mother against another gentleman. Trying to do something, he throws a flower from the window, trying to hit Anka's mother's lover. Later, when Mateusz sees him riding by on his bicycle, he throws the ground in his direction. The man asks why he did this, and then begins to tease the disabled man. A local policeman, a former friend of his late father, notices Mateusz's moans. Due to his unpleasant nature, the man attacks the policeman and is arrested. Through the window, Mateusz sees Anka and her mother packing. Noticing the guy, the girl runs across the yard to him to tell him that they are going to her grandmother's house, because without her gentleman in jail, her mother has nothing to do here. While the girl tells him this through the door, Mateusz crawls to the entrance. They look at each other through the gap below, and the hero tries to say something, but he can't, and only a pain-filled groan escapes his chest. In 2000, Mateusz's brother, who is serving in the Navy, comes home on vacation. Matilda has found a husband by then, and they are all sitting around the table celebrating their reunion. At the same time, they are discussing how to live together in one apartment. The sister raises the question of what to do with Mateusz when his mother passes away, because she is not eager to take on the responsibilities of caring for a disabled person. Mateusz continues to spend his time sitting on the windowsill and watching the life in the yard. One day, while trying to put him in a wheelchair, his mother falls to the floor. That's the end of the hero's carefree life. His sister and her husband take him to a special medical boarding house, where there are already plenty of patients with various disabilities. When he is brought to the ward, local residents come to meet him. The hero gradually settles down in the institution, hoping that sooner or later his mother will come and take him away. Life in the boarding house goes on as usual, but Mateusz cannot get used to it, and he feels that it is not the place for him. One day, his mother comes to visit him after being discharged from the hospital. She pauses for a second at the entrance to the ward before going in to see her son. After spending some time with him, the woman is about to leave to catch a train. She promises to visit him on Monday. Realizing that he has been abandoned, Mateusz gradually falls into depression, despite the fact that the staff takes care of him. The situation changes when a new volunteer girl shows up. The sight of her breasts calms the boy down a bit. His mother continues to visit him and tell him about the life of his brother and sister. Despite all this, Mateusz hated his mother for leaving him here. He even falls out of his chair from the excess of feelings. After this incident, he was placed in a room with padded walls for a while and given a boxing helmet so that he would not accidentally hurt his head. After it was discovered that Mateusz bites his lips to the point of bleeding while lying down, doctors, instead of feeding him sitting down, tie him to a dental chair and grind his teeth. Returning from the procedure, the humiliated Mateusz takes advantage of the nurse's absence. He rolls the wheelchair to the stairs and then falls down, remembering his father's words that sometimes, when you can't stand it anymore, you have to hit the table with your fist. He rolls down with the chair and the screen goes black. However, his attempt to leave the world failed, and he is taken to the hospital. The year 2005 comes. A nurse brings a new volunteer, Magda, to the ward of Mateusz and the others. This is a test, so that she can see what she will have to deal with and refuse. Looking at her, the hero thinks that perhaps a woman's breasts are not the most important thing. She looks after the hero, noticing that he reacts to her words. One day, the girl turns on the music in the ward and dances, saying that this is her way of distracting herself from heavy thoughts. A nurse catches them doing this. Magda says that Mateusz understands what he is being told, but the nurse is skeptical. During the next bath, the hero reacts to the magazine in the hands of the orderly, which does not escape Magda's attention. On his birthday, when Mateusz turns 25, his mother visits him and brings him a cake. When Magda shows up, she asks for permission to take him for a walk outside the boarding house. Soon after, in the middle of the night, Magda enters the ward. She has a gift for the hero. The girl brings an interesting magazine which she shows him, noting his interest in it. Convinced that he is interested, Magda takes off her clothes so that Mateusz can touch her. Later, Magda takes Mateusz to a restaurant for a festive Christmas dinner. Her father, stepmother, and guests are there. The appearance of a disabled man in a wheelchair spoils the atmosphere a bit, but the girl immediately makes it even worse by introducing the hero to her fiancé and kissing him. While the guests look away shyly and the father looks on with disapproval, Magda offers Mateusz a drink from her glass. However, her behavior is revenge on her father, who married after her mother's death. According to the man, last year his daughter brought a homeless person to dinner. This year she brought a disabled person, and it is difficult to predict what she will come up with next time. Realizing that he has been used, Mateusz falls out of his chair, knocking over glasses on the table. The girl has to take him back to the boarding house. Mateusz sits in the chair and looks out the window. When an orderly comes, he tells him that Magda has quit. Apparently, she did what she was volunteering for. Realizing that he has been used and abandoned, Mateusz listens to music and tries to smile to keep from crying. During the next visit, his mother tells him that his brother still goes swimming, his sister has been abandoned by her husband with 2 children, and about the neighbor's affairs. At this point, the hero can't stand it and starts crying. The mother does not understand the real reason for this disorder, but she does her best to calm her son down. In the spring of 2008, an open-air theatrical performance is organized for the patients of the nursing home. Afterwards, during a therapeutic massage, Mateusz notices a woman, Mrs. Yola, who teaches the disabled to communicate using a system of signs. Lying on his back, he tries to get her attention in every way he can, and eventually she starts talking to him, calming him down. The woman develops a system of communication based on signs and blinking. Mateusz's progress and reaction surprised the medical staff, who considered him mentally retarded. Soon, Mrs. Jola invites his mother and sister to teach the relatives how to communicate with the hero. First of all, he communicates one phrase with the help of a table: "I am not a vegetable." After that, the hero's life changes. He is shown to a medical commission. The dentist makes a prosthesis to replace the worn-out teeth. He is transferred to an individual ward, which is equipped according to his wishes. The guy gets a wheelchair with a motor, which he can control independently. The year is 2010. Mateusz is visited by journalist Ewa, who wants to write an article about him. The hero also gets acquainted with the internet and the computer, which can also be used to communicate with people. His sister brings him home to introduce him to her nephews and to talk to his brother, who is on vacation. In the evening, he and his nephew look out the window at the stars, just like they used to do with their father. When the mother visits her son again, the staff tells her that the bosses have read an article about Mateusz. Since he is not mentally retarded, he does not belong here, and they want to transfer him to another institution. The woman tells her son about this, but he does not like the idea of moving to a new place. The movie returns to where it started. Mateusz is brought to the medical commission. However, he doesn't want to show that he is healthy, so he imitates inadequate behavior. Mrs. Jola is about to take the hero out, but at the door, he slips out of his chair and crawls across the floor, back to the commission. After rolling over, he stands up on his own, though it is with great difficulty, and heads for the table. Mrs. Jola rolls Mateusz in an old chair down the corridor of the mental institution, where he has spent the last few years and where he will remain. In the next scene, he is in his ward, moving in an automatic chair to the telescope. The film ends with the protagonist turning his head to the camera and looking the audience straight in the eye.